I was here when you said it wasn't there.
Right. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. It is 7:00 PM, Wednesday, March the 8th. There's nobody here for the public forum. May I ask if there are any additions to the agenda?
We have one under correspondence. I received email regarding some questions for roles of municipality from Jay Wenzel.
Will be 7D as in David.
Sure, D is in David. And under 9, new business, we did not get the maintenance agreement from MODC. So 9B, we don't have the background material.
May I have, are there any other additions to the agenda? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Thank you, Geraldine. Second? Carol, thank you. All in favor?
Yeah.
All in favor?
All right.
Carried.
I got the original.
Okay.
I'll let her. Dear Laura.
You got one?
Do I have one?
Oh, I see. Okay.
Thank you.
That's every, you want
Oh.
that?
All right.
That was a copy of the letter.
Cody, chief. Stand and be heard.
I wrote a little bigger font this time, so I can see it a little easier. Good evening, commissioners. Jeff, Maxine. The CVFD responded to 24 incidents for the month of February, up from 12 incidents for the same reporting time in 2022. As the member showed, CVFD has been busy this past month. This past Sunday, the CVFD tested a new piece of equipment designed to draft water in very low water conditions. For our fire trucks, we typically look for a minimum of 2 feet to draft water in, 4 feet being ideal to give us our maximum pumping capacities. This piece of equipment was specifically designed to draft and pump in less than 1 foot of water. We tested it at Shaw's Island in coordination with their association as they're working at a fire plan to improve fire safety on the island. I'm pleased to say the test went extremely well. It made a believer out of me, and I was not one. It did everything the manufacturer said it would do, and we will be looking into acquiring one over the next year. But yeah, it was very impressive, worked very well.
So they lent it to you to try?
So Cummings Fire and Safety in Bridgewater demos it out.
Oh,
So we demoed it out from them and we put it to work up on
Catching a
the.
monster.
What's that now? We put some house, you know. So,
And what kind of a rig is it, chief? Like
so it's basically, it looks like what we call in service a floating dock, so it's about probably 24 inches wide by 24 inches wide. And if you follow our social media, we have a few pictures on there of it. It takes a 6-inch suction, which is the intake to our pump. And the bottom is all hard, so it sits right on the bottom of the ocean or a mud puddle, whatever it might be. And the way it's designed, it pulls from the top and creates a venturi, so it won't allow it to pull in the mud and the rocks from the bottom.
excellent.
I wondered about that when you said you
Yeah,
draw a foot of water.
and typically our pumps, they can draw, you know, up to 20 pounds mercury of vacuum, which is a fair amount of vacuum, so if we shove our barrel strainer in less than 2 feet of water, it just sucks the bottom right out, and which does a lot of damage in a hurry. So we'll be looking into that over the next year or so. The past month, 9 members took strategy and tactics from the Nova Scotia Firefighter School, which is training under the CVFD bylaws, mandatory to hold an officer position with the department. And I'm happy to report new officers were taking it for the first time, along with seasoned officers, refreshing their skill set, and firefighters expanding their knowledge for future officer roles. It was a weekend commitment of about 16 hours. And took place the second weekend of February, right up here at the hall. So, we were invited by our mutual aid partners, Western Shore District Fire Department, to tour Oak Island Inn and Marina, and to help develop a pre-plan for the hotel. So we had 5 officers attend that event. It also happened to be our same night for monthly training. So the rest of the department got up close and personal with our ice and cold water rescue equipment. And our operators are doing a little more familiarization on the new tanker. So it was a busy night all around. I would like to extend my heartfelt thank you to Jeff for all he's done to work with the CVFD and myself. It's been a real pleasure to work with you, Jeff, and to learn from you as well. Myself and the CVFD sincerely thank you for your service while in the clerk treasurer's role. While we look forward to working with the new clerk treasurer, the CVFD will miss you, Jeff. Thank you.
Sorry, go ahead.
Are there any questions for the chief? Good report. Thank you.
Those are just under $5,000.
Good.
So we'll,
Oh, so pretty
we'll be
small,
working,
pretty small amount for that type of equipment. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been at this for 20-some years and it's just like somebody finally listened to the things that we've said for me and people before me.
what your needs are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
It's,
Canadian built,
did it exist 15 years ago?
not that I know,
Yeah.
it's new to the market 2 years
Yeah.
ago, it just kind of is getting the marathon.
Slick piece of
This
work.
last year, yeah.
Great.
Doesn't weigh a million tons, you just
No,
fire
I can
it
pick
there.
it up
Yeah.
with 2 fingers and I know the numbers aren't gonna mean a lot to you, but we pumped about 1,200 gallons a minute with it. They say it's good for up to 1,300 gallons a minute. That, to put it in terms, that would be about half of what we're supplying to the Pleasant Fire. So it's
Pretty decent.
it's definitely a significant game changer for us. So.
Particularly when you have to watch the tides.
Yeah, and not everywhere we can act like Shaw's Island in particular, just the way the banks are there isn't a lot of deep water.
Yeah.
So this piece of equipment's gonna help a lot in spots like that, and even different spots here in the village, we'll be able to draft where we couldn't draft before, so.
Great.
Yeah, definitely
Well,
impressive.
Cody, you're welcome to stay until the bitter end.
Well, as much as I appreciate it. I have another list I have to complete this evening.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you all very much.
Thanks for your time, so.
Take care.
Do drop in on Heather and introduce
Yes.
yourself.
Greg and I will make it a point to
Great.
drop in and break the ice before we introduce her to everybody.
All right, good, thank
All
you.
right, take care.
Take care, Code.
You too.
All right, on to minutes of the special meeting Friday, February the 3rd. Are there any errors or omissions?
Oh, yeah.
Just-
No,
The copy you have has Thursday, February
Yeah.
2nd.
Yes.
No, they've been changed. The original, the main copy that's going to be signed has been changed to
Thank you.
the
Thank you,
proper
Maxine.
dates.
It's all in camera anyway, that one, I believe, wasn't there's nothing.
Yeah. May I have a motion then to approve those minutes?
So move.
Thank you, Randy. Seconder. Thank you, Carol. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Wednesday, February the 8th, 2023, the regular monthly meeting minutes. Any errors or omissions? Corrections? I do have one suggestion. Second, page 5, business arising, title. Stationery
It's with an E.
with an E.
I noticed that one
You
too.
missed that one. But that's my only
Yeah.
amendment to
Second
that.
one.
I was biting my tongue.
Yeah.
I didn't want to embarrass it.
Well,
Fireman.
yeah.
No, we'll hold off a day or two.
Press.
Now I had another spelling, but I won't.
Okay.
Yeah,
bring it
there
up.
were a couple there. I know.
Are you sure it was a spelling and not a grammatical?
Mm.
All right, a motion please to approve the regular meeting minutes of February the 8th. As amended.
I'll second.
Thank you, Pauline.
My name is Geraldine.
I know that.
Thank
Thank you, Geraldine. Thank you, Randy. I think that's the first time I've actually called you
Listen, I
Pauline.
get called Pauline all the time. I just, she goes, in one ear, knows the other.
Okay, thanks, Polly. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Special meeting in camera, Tuesday, February the 21st, 2023. A motion please to approve those minutes. Thank you, Laura. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Randy. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. And we are now on to village stationery. ERY.
It's not really business arising, because last month it was just standing still,
just
and this
updated
month
that.
it's about writing material.
We tabled it.
Yes.
Table it for this one.
So,
Oh,
That is on page 5, is the motion. to
Oh, the
table.
motion. Oh, so we don't have it now.
No,
I have a price from Jim for these cards. So take one and pass them on, please.
Yes,
I
yeah.
believe you did have the mission before.
So limited to this selection or?
No.
No.
The price is
Thank you.
$3
Per piece?
$3.
per card, envelope, signature, and plastic
Right.
cover wrap.
That's a bargain.
There's 6 at the pharmacy, I think.
Yes.
if I'm not-
Yeah. And as was mentioned at the last meeting, not only would they be useful as correspondence, personal notes from the commission to
And
people, but also as
condolences.
give
baby.
to visitors to remember their trip to Chester. So first of all, we need to decide at $3 a pop. And I believe the blue bags with the black logo on it were $1.50 each, $2.50 each.
I think the cheapest one we could get now, though, that's right, around $1.46, I think. But I think the cheapest one we could get now was almost $3, $2.70, $2.65 for the cheapest one.
Did Jim specify a specific amount that we had to buy to get that price?
No.
Okay.
No. The
I
poor
think he had a
man,
basement full of them.
the poor man would probably get writer's cramp signing and putting Chester on each card.
Yeah, no, I thought you had to buy like,
So-
60 or something.
Yeah, no, do you wish to proceed with this as a double duty promotional and condolences item? Yes or no?
I'm kind of hesitant about giving it out. I would prefer that we used it to write notes from the commission to people.
Well, I think the original ask was for 500. There's no way in God's green earth that we as a commission will be writing 500.
Oh, no,
Notes.
I agree. I definitely agree that we should purchase these as our commission notes, for writing notes and so on. I'm just a little bit hesitant about giving them out.
Can I have some more feedback on using them as promotional items?
I like it, but I mean, if a family of 5 comes in, they're not getting 5 cards.
No, they can get one.
So I think if we use our discretion and we try it out
Mhm.
and see, it's not, like you said, it's not any more expensive than made in China,
It's meaningful.
chunky bags.
So
And-
this stationery is fine for day-to-day use. then?
Yes.
Is that, I believe was what we thought at the time, that for just internal stuff and everything, the printed sort would do,
Like we send a card to the firefighter.
Yeah,
that died, so we got a card from Jim, so that's a nice thing, or
And it was a nice card.
And Jim signed some, which I suppose makes.
a
some-
retirement
Yeah.
card for Jim.
These are limited edition signed.
Well,
But I guess where my hesitancy is, it's not so much the cost as it reduces the specialness of it when we send a note to somebody if we're just standing, but that's all. I'm not stuck on it, I just want to put it on the table.
Well, I can see where you are coming from with regard to you all right?
Yeah, sorry.
Reducing the specialness of the note. But it's also very special, I think, for the visitors as a remembrance of their trip to the village of
Are
Chester.
you talking about people who walk into the office?
Yeah,
We probably don't get that much walk-in traffic here, do we really?
We used to in the summers, but COVID has limited it. It's
Mm.
starting to come back up,
I
but
mean, if it
nowhere
was, for me,
near.
if it was all, I'm definitely on board with doing it this way, okay?
Mhm.
But like Geraldine, I think, gosh, I mean, how many of these would we have to give away to tourists or whatever you want to call them? And, you know, I certainly it helps support a local guy, and I'm all for the general feeling of going this way, but I tend to morally agree with Geraldine that unless it's an absolutely high-end circumstance, where you really, whoever was giving it out felt like, yes, maybe we should give these people something, you know?
Well, maybe we should select one picture, one photograph for village commission personal notes only. And have a selection of 4 or 5 others that are for promotionals.
If you're gonna use promotionals, then I think you need to choose cards that are Chester
Absolutely.
and not just a pretty picture.
Yeah.
Of a house or something.
Have
To
to be
be, so I mean,
village
yeah.
of Chester.
so I mean, whether it's your main drag or the,
Sailing.
Lido or sailing or.
Jim does a lot of local
Yeah,
pictures, so,
whatever.
you know, we should have a selection there.
Yeah,
Are
I
we-
think so.
Are we in agreement that we would have one image to cover all bases and 3, 4, or 5 other images as promotional?
I don't think there's gonna be a lot of crossover if I mail a card to Randy because he's broken his leg and I give you one, you're visiting here from Texas. Nobody's anything like,
That's true.
I mean, we just buy 100 cards.
I
to
was gonna
start
say, how
off.
many do we buy? That's the
I
question.
start with 100 and then we can always assess it.
All
I
right.
mean, we were looking at promotional items anyway, and
Oh.
the cheapest, and we didn't even like that cheap
No.
one, we wanted to get something, so I feel like we're
Very good
supporting
points,
local.
Laura. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the whole concept, I mean, I'm 100% behind.
How will who will choose what selection?
All right,
that we
that's the
get?
next part of this discussion. I think each of you should choose one image that you think is appropriate. I can email you or use a stick to beat you over the head.
Hmm.
No, that would have Jim's images.
So he has like a little catalog or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Just get 100 assorted cards, they don't,
Well, they
Well,
have to
some
be
are,
just-
some are
Or
nicer
huge,
than,
probably.
I'm not interested,
No.
for instance, personally speaking, in a picture of flowers on a rock. I am interested in the architecture of the village. I don't know how many people would be interested in, the sailing images.
I would. That would be my
It's pretty
choice.
representative.
Yeah.
Well, how
But I
about
mean, you know.
the old stone bridge? At the back harbor, the front harbor, Little Fish Island, which is,
Well, first we have to find out what he has.
Yeah. but I'm sure that those are close to things that he would have. Maybe golf course, I don't know.
Well, there's a picture there of the golf course, not, it's of the clubhouse and the flowers, but
But it doesn't say that.
it says Chester.
Like, I like the,
Anything under full sail?
no, there's no
No.
boats at all, sorry, Randy.
No.
And this is nice, the fire, or is that?
Yeah,
That's
the
the
monument.
gym.
That's the
That's the
monument.
giblet, so that would be very appropriate for us, because the giblet is us.
But I doubt it would have much interest to a visitor, that
They don't
particular
care.
thing. No, but if you're
We're
going to give them
controlling
to
what we give
visitors,
them.
that might be suitable for our own use, but, you know.
Anyway, so you'll distribute them and each one of us will pick one.
All right.
Yeah, it seems what I.
Could be.
if
And
I
I
hear-
I withdraw my objection.
Thank you.
Well, we go, yeah, we've all
Well,
sort of agreed that this is the way to go.
Mhm.
It's just what we're gonna have on the cards.
Okay.
Oh, I think the cards are fabulous.
And
Definitely want
the
them.
number to start, 100?
I think so.
Yeah,
That seems
sounds like a
reasonable,
good
yeah.
round number.
So Maxine, can you print this in color if you have to? Okay. So that obviates the problem of looking cheesy somehow, you know? Yes, okay.
You're gonna be on a model runway.
Z points. to-
Okay, so we need a motion then to order 100 cards from Jim Barkhouse, as you see here. The photos to be selected, each one will select a photo
At $3
at
per card.
$3 per card.
Could you read that back, Maxine?
To purchase 100 cards with commissioners to each choose a card from Jim
Photo.
Barkos
Yeah.
and
At a cost of
at a
$3.
cost of $3.
So moved.
Thank you, Geraldine.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Randy. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Correspondence.
Thank you, Nancy, for the research. and taking the time to
Yes.
do that.
Oh, yeah, very welcome. It was so difficult.
Yeah.
Something I didn't have to do.
Jim's such a hard person to deal with.
Yes, he is.
But,
He has too many images and that makes it hard. Jeff, correspondence, Property Valuation Services Corporation.
So this is a straightforward one. Property Value Services Corporation, when we bought the old Windjammer, they were advised that it was no longer a hotel. They had it in the notes on their file, but somehow it hadn't made it through to change the type of property it was in their system. So they sent us a request saying, please tell us how many visitors you had and how much money you took in and all of that
Your
last year.
expenses.
So I called to say, what is this? And what do we do about it? And she said, please send us a letter saying the motel's no longer there. So I did that. So that's all looked after.
And there is no problem with that.
No, there was
No
no cost, no
cost, yeah.
fee. It was just a clerical error on their part that they hadn't recorded that it was no longer a motel
Okay.
in the way the system was noted, right?
So then you did not need to appeal the assessment.
No, I didn't need to do the assessment or anything like that.
Excellent.
Thank you.
B is a letter from a citizen, Ray Cambria, who has written to say, well, you've all got the letter, but has written to say that given the rise in assessments and the income levels of some people in the village, that he would like the commission to consider in budget process to decrease the tax rate in order to give people a break on the amount of property tax that they pay in the village.
Well, I think it's a very good piece of information for us to keep in mind while we're doing our big budget assessment and while we consider what costs
Excellent.
are inflated or not inflated. But it's certainly something to be under consideration.
Thank you, Geraldine. Jeff, was this letter sent by Canada Post?
Yes.
Therefore, I think we should
Reply by
respond
Canada Post.
and have a more in-depth discussion when we discuss
During
the budget.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cambria. And now we're looking at managed healthcare services.
Some of you may have gotten this letter in other parts of your life. So we put a lot of news about this company who had a potential data breach, and they hold the medical records for Blue Cross, Sobeys, a number of pharmacy chains across the country. So lots of consumers have been getting this letter saying it is possible, although not confirmed, that your information was breached and you should pay attention to your online use and suspicious activity. And we got the letter because they hold the data for our Blue Cross, Medivh, and Health Plan. So there's really nothing to be done other than for each of you to be aware. Well, I guess most of you, Carol, you weren't here then, but back in, I think it was November,
Oh, I've gotten 3 of them
Yeah, they had a breach of some sort.
You received 3 letters?
from the same people, same thing.
Yeah, they're just, I think they're all form letters.
Well,
We got one.
yeah, but one was the NSU and one was somebody else and one was somebody else, you know.
Some
They
other-
handle a bunch of different companies.
Yeah.
I happen to be on the lucky end, I think.
Yeah. You still have your teachers union, then, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
As a retired teacher.
but I remember when I was in practice that they were a big player in that area.
Thank you for that, Jeff. And now we have the 4th bit of correspondence.
Is that the one from Gateway?
That's the one from
Yes.
Jane Wenzel. So this is the one we added. So Jane Wenzel has written to Commissioner Mulrooney. I did a sort of a summary of the letter. I didn't do it word for word, but the issues that she raised are kind of word for word, raising a number of different issues that she was concerned about and asking that she would like to see the issues discussed at the meeting and see if there's anything that can be done. So Laura, I don't know if you want to speak to this at all, or do you want me to run through I think they're pretty self-evident.
Well, Jane works a lot with dogs and dog training and her life's career, so she gets very upset about the dog. And that's, I think the bylaw was particularly relative, like, if your dog does commit a sin, there's no one to enforce it. I don't know the status of, are there bylaw officers? Because someone else told me for something else about plowing. My street didn't get plowed because the guy parked on the street before they would tow it away. And then someone said, oh no, they don't tow anymore. There's no bylaw or enforcement. So I'm not sure of the municipal rules. So she was quite disturbed with that. So I think garbage and dog food involved bylaw person. Is there a bylaw person? Do we know?
Yes.
There is there's
things-
several, I thought, bylaw people.
There used to be, anyway. I remember Brent Ash used to do it once upon a time.
He's for
Yeah, he's gone up
building
to,
now.
yeah, he's building inspector now.
I just have a comment with regard to dog excrement. Good luck finding the offender.
Unless you happen to be right there.
Yeah.
The moment the offense is committed.
Yes.
Even the post office had a sign this week, some
Yes.
people.
Yes, I
So
saw it.
Maxine and we were working on our new newsletter. And we did, for what it's worth, we did put a reminder to people that, you know, yeah, it's
Stoop
not
and
our,
scoop and
yeah.
take it home.
so.
Or put it in the garbage.
Most pet owners are pretty responsible, but it's the odd one that really causes the grief.
It's surprising that there is more than the odd one.
Well, my street gets, going in front of my place, gets a lot of dog walking and probably 85% are good people, but there's that 15% who let the thing run half a mile out on one of those strings that they have and it goes and they don't.
These,
pay anything.
these issues nevertheless are all covered under MODC.
Yeah, they're not
are they
ours.
not? So although we are, certainly we don't have them direct.
No,
She talks group garbage boxes.
The only
Why are
thing
we talking about group?
I
Is
think
that
up
like
on Queen where Bob Uden's apartment building, I don't know if it's still his,
Okay.
there's a little gated
What's,
thing.
is that the like Morash building up there?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was the only one I could think of.
Well,
Where a bunch of people put their garbage in
Right.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah, like there's one right here on the corner, right beside the building for everybody who's in this building,
Yeah.
right? I assume that's what she means. I don't know
It does,
that.
I mean, occasionally it's, you know. Like, what do you?
But if you have an apartment building or a residence that houses
Yeah, there's
more than one
dozen units at
individual,
least there.
you need a receptacle to take all of their garbage.
Yeah, the way I read this, I think her point is, I have garbage at home and I'm not allowed to put it out beside the road until 8 o'clock the night before garbage gets picked up. If you live in an apartment, you have a box, you can take it out there the day the garbage gets picked up and it lays out there all week in the heat, smelling bad. Why don't you keep it in your apartment until the day before garbage gets picked up and then take it out and put it in the garbage box? I take it that that's her point, right?
Well, all of these issues that are outlined in the letter could be brought to the attention of the
Yeah,
municipality.
we have no authority in this
And,
area.
right, we don't have any authority.
And as to our first question, is there a member of commission that attends council and is it a voting position?
No,
Of course, the answer is there's no one from council from commission that's assigned to attend council. Occasionally, one of you may, because there's a topic of interest to the commission or to some other
I always
organization.
watching.
But it's not a
Right,
voting
it's certainly not a
position.
voting
No.
position. So,
And as for the rocks on the road, which there are at least 4 houses.
This is
But
the
that's-
parking thing,
Yeah.
yeah, that bothers
annoying,
me
I
as
know.
well, yeah, I have to say that. There is I'm not sure who is responsible for that.
This
The
is-
Department of Transport or whatever?
this is Public Works, TIR property that people are using.
To park their cars and no one else,
Or to decorate
yeah,
or make it look beautiful, whatever have you.
I think it's less decoration and more keep off my front of my lawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the fence that is on that property is on their property line.
Right.
The trees that were planted and the grass and the rocks is on provincial property. It's very irritating. We will run into that later on today.
Well, it could be their property, but it's within what's called.
It's not,
right away.
it's not
or
the
something.
homeowner's property.
Yeah, it belongs to the homeowner, but it's within the provincial right of way. That, I've been through this 1,000 times, believe me, I'm right.
Well, I will beg to differ with you, Geraldine.
and I'm sure there's some of both cases,
Yeah,
right? They're not all one
That's a
or the other.
political answer.
Hmm,
but if usually you'll see the lot drawings, and you'll see they go right up to the road. But the province has a right of way.
It's
It
33
goes
feet
on
or
to
something.
private.
Then why do,
hmm.
I'm sorry.
But there are some
I'll discuss this with
cases,
you later.
yeah, there are some cases, Geraldine, I think, where people have put rocks that are clearly on the shoulder of the road. They're not on their own land, so their land would abut the shoulder of the road, and then there's rocks out on the shoulder to keep anybody from parking in front of their house.
Yeah, once you go past the ditch, you're done.
So there are some of those as well.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about the other side of the
No,
ditch.
I'm pleased to go volunteer and go talk to MODC. I could talk to our friend at Public Works and see what she could find out, or TI, just to ask, so that we have a better understanding. So that when people
Well,
come
it'd be
along-
good for us to have proper understanding, however, the correct way to do this is to reply that we will forward our concerns to the municipality.
Right.
But we should be educated ourselves and find out the answers to the questions. It's a proper procedure is for us to reply to her and say, thank you, we're forwarding your correspondence.
All of
to
this
the
has to
municipality."
do with jurisdiction.
And we
of
can
this
say,
Yes.
we are not voting members of the municipality, although we are interested in your concerns and we'll educate ourselves on them,
Mhm.
but we don't have jurisdiction.
Send it to the village advisory committee. Yeah. All right.
Are you on that?
Yep.
Huh.
There you go. We've got it solved.
And everything for Garth's agenda.
do you want me to write back to her, or we're given that she wrote to you, do you, I'm glad to respond to her.
You was-
Okay, perfect.
But copy me on that.
Yeah.
one.
I just hope that Heather is as kind to us as you are.
Yeah.
I'm sure she will be.
She's sitting over there.
Yeah,
looking at
somewhere, I
us,
think,
but we
yeah,
can't
her
see
name is up.
her.
Alrighty, so page 19 has been dealt with.
We're on page 20 now.
We're on page 20.
The treasurer's report?
No, that's
Yeah.
clerk treasurer.
Treasure activity.
Activity report. So again, you've had this for a bit. I'm not going to go through it in great detail. The prevention policy has been forwarded to the insurance company. We then had to sign an application for coverage, which I did as well. As far as I know, that's all done now. So that cleared that up. This afternoon, we had a little session with the two crossing guards, and Maxine and I, we went through the policy in a fair bit of detail, and then they signed their attestation forms, which will go in their HR file. And I have for you an attestation for each of you to please
Oh,
sign
yes,
and leave
yes.
with Maxine before you leave. And that will put to bed the abuse prevention policy until we hire lifeguards in the summer, when we'll have to go through that. We have to go through that again. Water Street lights, you know that we were struggling to get the power center repaired. We have that repaired now. However, when they repaired that, there are 3 lights that do not work. And they've, after some chasing by me, they've written back to say the issue is the fixtures at the top of the pole. So the LED bulbs are not replaceable. You have to replace the entire light fixture and bulb or one unit. And the last time we did one of those, it was around $1,500 just for the fixture, plus the
Now,
cost.
if we have to replace the fixture, can we replace it with the fixture that you can replace a bulb in?
I don't know the answer to that.
We
So
can get it.
I'm suggesting that we get MODC, that this would be one of the first things they do under their new policy. They say they have a great relationship with Black and McDonald, and I have to say, for the record, I have struggled to get good answers from Black and McDonald. So I'm hoping we can leverage their relationship to get us better, quicker answers.
Are we talking about not the standard itself, but just the head?
That's my understanding. It's just the head.
Surely
that
we
would be
must
the
be able to
glass
buy
globe
fixtures that
and
we only
what's
need to
inside it.
replace the bulb.
They're there, they're a long time there.
Yeah, I don't know, they've been there at least
So
10
you
years.
think you're just
They were there
like-
before I came.
Well, I've been there
Since you were on the commission.
20 years, because we put them there
Mhm.
when they did the
Water Street.
Water
Yeah.
Street thing.
Yes.
We put those in.
Jim
Commission
Marcos,
put
was
them in.
it an MLA at the time?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was. So basically, is it possible, I guess we should investigate the possibility. Can you get, as Geraldine said, something where the head can be replaced or the guts inside
The
can be
fixture can be
replaced or
replaced, but
something,
they
yeah.
put a new bulb in.
Well, they're LED, so
Yeah.
if they go, they're gone. You can't do anything with them, but
Yeah, but you could buy another light bulb.
yeah, I suppose at the time, the replaceability wasn't quite what it might be today. for
Okay.
LEDs.
We'll ask that question.
Good, thank you.
All right, good. Again, like I say, I'm not gonna go through every item. We did finalize the request for proposal document for the disposal of the old pumper, and it's now posted on the website and Facebook. Closes March 28th. It's gotten really good coverage on Facebook, so it's been forwarded 42 times from our Facebook page to other people. And then I forwarded it to my own personal Facebook page, and I posted it to half a dozen buy and sell sites around the area. And I see it's been forwarded from a number of those, including the Nova Scotia Firefighters Association forwarded it to their 10,000 members. So not just, I guess, not just in the sense of those are fire departments, but that's just 10,000 people that might know of someone that's interested. So
Is it all?
we've gotten good interest, at least in terms of forwarding it around. Of course, we don't have any bids yet, or any request for proposal submissions. I suspect those will roll in close to the end of the month. You all know we've worked our way through the interview process, and we're in the process of welcoming Heather to the village, so that'll be on the agenda here in a few minutes. I advised the executive search firms that we had been talking to that we were not going to go ahead with the executive search. And the insurance adjuster who's dealing with the slip and fall that happened here next door has advised the lawyer for that individual that we have no responsibility. They did that back in February, and there's been no response from the law firm as yet. But the adjuster is the spokesperson for the insurance company and for the village until we get somewhat further down the road, if they come back and say, now, I think they've probably done their research and discovered it's not us, it's someone else, and you'll see that
Yes.
move to a different
Level.
a different organization. We did apply to Community Culture and Heritage for a grant for repairs to the pool. $150,000 was the amount that was the maximum amount that we understood was available, so we applied for that. And if it was approved, we would require some sort of a financial contribution from the village. It didn't specifically say it must be matching, but there was an impression that the more you put in, the more likely it was to be seen as a positive thing.
Do they give a date for a response?
I checked on that and they said probably within a month. So we submitted that at the end of February, 26, 27. So
Did they not respond that we are not?
That was for Fed.
two separate things. So this is repairs from Community Culture and Heritage with the province.
Right.
And it's just repairs to the concrete walls and floors of the pool itself.
Mhm.
We had also applied for a grant from the federal government to put in an accessibility ramp from the parking area down to the pool deck. And since I wrote this report and circulated it, we got notice that we were not approved for the accessibility grant. So we're on a wait list, but the grant hadn't been opened. It's a national grant and it hadn't been opened in the last 2 years. So everyone had been told to expect that there would be a really significant round of applications this year.
And a high rejection rate.
And as a result, a high rejection. rate.
But didn't you say in your email that they would put us on some kind of list?
Yes, they basically said,
We're not completely out of it.
Yeah.
Could be years before we get
You have to apply every year.
Yeah.
or you may have to apply again. So yeah, if enough people that got approved said, oh, turns out we can't do it, and they'd start going to the wait list to say, would you be interested, right?
So that grant to the community cultural inherit, is that the one you had to kind of quickly throw something together? at
That's the one.
point?
Yeah. And it seemed like a relatively obviously they're not gonna commit until, you get the letter saying you've been approved and that, the provincial government wants to do an announcement, but they seemed quite positive in the conversation that they were looking for something in the nature of what we put in. And because we had done the grant for the federal application less than a month before, we had lots of, we'd already had letters of support for the other application. We had some detail in terms of what could be done. We had some existing quotes that we got updated. We were able to put together a pretty good application on fairly short notice. So that was good. And then I had contact from the Municipal Joint Services Board, the Director of IT. So we buy not our website services, but our IT support. So our email, our file storage, our Microsoft Office licenses, all of that stuff comes from the Municipal Joint Services Board. We've been on a contract with them for,
Since 2018.
I was gonna say, I think since 2018, 5 years. And it's been $1,500 a year since we started. They have a new director who just got hired 6 months ago, who was asked, as your first job, would you check on the sustainability of the IT group? And they discovered that, no, we've been massively underbilling all of our clients. So everybody's rate is going up by 70% for 70% for 23-24. So that takes us from $1,500 to $2,550. So up about $1,000.
That's
We're
what's in
one
the
of-
budget now.
Yeah, and I put it in the budget. I don't think that we really have enough time to go search out an alternative and get it in place and all of that before the 1st of April. And they are going to put in place some contracts. So in the past, we have a letter from 2018, which was basically an agreement of service with some high level, we'll treat you nice, you treat us nice, you'll, look after these kinds of things. And they're pulling together more official contracts for all of their clients. So my suggestion would be that we carry on for 23-24. And then when the contract comes, you'll have 10 or 12 months to do a review and see if there's a competitive nature.
Do they supply tech support?
They do, yeah, for everything except websites.
Okay.
Yeah, websites we buy from Association Nova Scotian Municipalities. And,
I had occasion to use them, they were exceptionally helpful.
yeah, I find them very good. They're very prompt. They're quick.
Municipal Joint Services?
Like if you're trying to get your email set up,
The
they
help
called,
desk.
Geraldine and I were in here trying to get her email set up on her laptop, and they called and logged into her personal computer and got her all set up, and
And so you are set up.
So can we
Yeah,
put,
it's very inconvenient to me though, because I have to go through like about 10 steps to pick up an email, whereas I'm used to just turning my computer on and there it is, you know?
Wow.
so should
I'm
we,
just
should
trying
we
to
leave the
train
Gmail
myself.
for now then? I guess?
It's okay, you can, I mean, if you're emailing me personally, use my Gmail.
Yeah, no,
You know?
I was just, you're the only one who I does, and I keep getting this message, it comes from an unknown place or
Do
something.
you
like
trust
that,
this
yeah.
person?
Well, I'm training myself to check it twice a
Yeah.
day, so if it's urgent, phone me.
Yeah, no, I just wondered if we could change it to Geraldine Paul,
Sure.
Chester NS, Village of Chester.
Yeah.
okay, any questions on the activity report?
No,
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, folks. Financial report is next. Again, you've had that for a bit. So in January, we had almost $155,000 in the bank, and the reconciliation went through clear. We got our final quarterly revenue payment from MODC on February 28th. So we now have $359,000 in the bank, and we're 2/3 of the way through the last quarter. Now, remember, we haven't moved the apparatus reserve across yet, so there's just shy of $150,000 to come out of that. So what we had said was whatever the soft cost for the fire truck are would come out of the reserve before we move it over, and I think we're at around 20. We approved up to 50,000, and I think we're at around 24,000.
that's for the hoses. and
For
things
the,
like
yeah,
that,
the hoses and the gate valves and all that stuff. Now, the final order of hose has not come and may not come before the end of fiscal. So we would move 126,000 into the reserve, and the rest of it would go to the other capital costs that you guys approved. So, but you're still in healthy position for midway through March. Over the next 2 days, the end of this week, first of next week, I will run a up-to-date spending report just to make sure that we're in good shape for year end. I did one yesterday and today for the fire department, and they're in really good shape. They're gonna finish the year, I would say, very close to being on budget. They may come in a little under, but they're very close to coming in on budget, which is great, right? That's what you want. So I'll run one for us over the next few days and just make sure what kind of shape we're in, but I'm very confident that we're in good shape. We're not aware of any, multi-$100,000 expenses coming our way or anything outstanding. All the checks have cleared. There's nothing more than 30 days old when I did the reconciliation at the end of January. And we received the updated report on investments, and the next page, page 23, is the updated investment report. So we didn't cash anything in the current quarter. So really all that you see is that the current value amount has gone up from the last check. The issue amount has remained the same. Maturity dates have remained the same, and the amount we'll get at maturity. So it's just current value. Should we cash them today? That's gone up a little bit since last month. And you now see that the November 2022 payment back to the fire apparatus reserve is showing on the investment account list. So it's moved over as you've been doing in previous months.
Excellent, Jeff, thank
Good,
you.
thank you, Jeff.
Now we are.
Oh, and I should say,
Yes.
sorry, I was gonna send you an email. I had a conversation today with the auditor, just getting some advice on how to record a couple of things. And normally they do a pre-audit just to get a start in a sense in March, and then do the full audit in April or May. And he advised me today they're not gonna be able to do a pre-audit. They're too caught up in a couple of other major audits, so they're just gonna do the full audit probably in early April for the village.
Well, we have to have the audited financial statement by
Mhm.
the annual
Yeah.
public meeting.
Remind me of the date of the AGM.
It hasn't been determined yet. It has to be before July 1st.
Oh, okay, we're in good shape then.
Okay,
Good.
okay, we are on to, committees. I don't know if there's any committee reports.
No committee reports.
Newsletter. you guys a committee for that, or is that just the same thing all together?
Just friends,
Okay, cool.
still working on it.
No, I just wondered if we'd actually constituted you guys as the committee or not. I didn't remember doing so.
Yes.
but-
Constant
I have to
rotate
say,
and
let's
stuff.
get formal.
I think that's an excellent choice.
Yeah, and for those of you that haven't seen the draft, it's really looking quite nice. I'm impressed.
What's this budget? now?
No, the
Oh.
newsletter.
I haven't actually. I'm looking forward to getting it. in
I think
my
it's come
mailbox.
as a big reveal, but
Is it
it's,
gonna be mailbox stuff? Pop in your mailbox
No. it's gonna be easy.
or on the site?
Well,
Mailbox.
It's gonna be mailbox too, because we only have a few emails.
Yeah,
That'll be our next project.
That'll be something we'll put
Yes,
on.
for
so.
sure.
The OHC had a really good email. I think they have a new person, don't they, in promotions or something? But I noticed it sort of stood out yesterday, it was sort of a lot of posters coming through of all the different events, it was really terrific.
oh, yeah.
Send you one, Maxine,
Yeah,
that came in email then?
Yeah. if you're on their OHC mailing.
We should start asking people if they're willing to share their emails with us. I mean, it's.
That'll be on the
saves an
newsletter.
enormous Amount of money.
So we
can-
we're gonna put that on this newsletter to try to,
And you
Again,
have to have
You-
permission.
But you could term it in, saving the planet, not printing paper and all of that stuff, people fall for.
can't do it without their permission, sorry. I won't do it.
Well, they would give you their permission by giving you their email, wouldn't they?
Yes,
this is an ongoing request that we've been asking forever,
Yeah.
since the internet was invented.
We can, I'm sure there's also a way to put that on our Facebook page to, just a link to sign up for the newsletter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
good idea.
And of course, your new clerk treasurer
Very
is
talented,
is
yeah.
a communication specialist, social media guru, so
Good.
she will come in with lots of good ideas, I am sure.
Excellent.
And Laura's made some suggestions about inviting people to link and join with our
Look,
Facebook
look, we
page
gotta-
and follow us.
Oh,
We see you, Heather.
Yeah, good stuff, Heather.
So yeah, so and I can see like every day there's somebody who says, oh, so-and-so has followed you, so-and-so has
Right.
followed you. So I think the activity around the fire truck and some of the activity that's going on in the village and all the photos that have been posted lately, quite a lot of people follow, whether they're residents or people just feel connected to the
Doesn't matter,
village. I can't answer that, but right.
and I did do the invite to invite them to like the page, and I'm not sure what happened, but I have a few people that I don't know on my Facebook page, so I have to.
Oh, they're on your personal one? You
Yeah,
don't know.
so I don't know what,
Heather will help you. when she-
oh, yes,
Have it all.
I've got a few things waiting for her when she comes.
Okay.
I made a new fella there, Maxine.
Do
No,
you
that's
want-
okay.
Do you want to jump to new business?
Are in preliminary assessment figures in new business?
Yeah, that's part of the budget
Part of the
discussion.
budget.
Do we, and that, my question was, do we have a comparison to last year?
You do. It's the next page,
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yes.
or the
Now-
page after. Yeah, it's the next page.
Is everyone's derriere numb, or do you
Yeah.
want to get up and go around in a circle, or shall we?
Was-
The
Or
chairs
Dawn.
are, they're harder, I'm okay, I don't know anybody else.
All right, continue on then.
Okay, budget package. So yes, you have the preliminary assessment figures on page 24. They come this time pretty much every year, so they usually come late January, early February, and we get those from municipalities, so you have them exactly the way that they get presented to us. And then on page 25 and 26, it is the same information, just shared in two different ways. So page 25 is the way that we have traditionally posted it on our website. It's just updated. We usually do a 3-year average, so you can see 21, 22, 22, 23, and projected for 23, 24. And you will note at the top of the page, it says draft, assuming no change from the previous year. So those numbers are calculated. Those numbers are calculated based on the assumption that you will keep the fire rate at 7.4 cents per hundred, and you will keep the village rate at 7.77 cents per hundred. If you want a sense of how much did the actual assessment numbers jump by, Page 26, which shows the other view, actually shows you the assessment numbers. So if you look under the left-hand column, VOC General Government, you will see 21-22, the assessment was 388 million. 22-23, it was 424 million, reading down the page. In 23-24, the assessment was 480 million. So it's gone 388, 424, 480 million. And then you can see the same for MODC, and you can see the same for the islands.
Jeff, would you suggest incorporating both of these formats in the budget or choosing one over the other?
As far as what you post publicly, I think one, I don't think you want to confuse people too much. Again, the page 25 has been the traditional one. It does show a fire capital and a fire operations, and whether or not the new committee will maintain that kind of a calculation in 23-24, we don't know. But until we know, you may want to just go with the traditional version that you've always posted. And if the committee should make some changes or do things a different way in a future year, you might want to do something more like page 26 or some version there.
Committee being fire committee.
The new fire committee, yeah.
Did I not read someplace that the NODC was raising their rates by 11%?
Ray's letter, perhaps, he mentions that figure.
Their assessment went up, I think,
Their
by
assessment,
approximately.
okay, sorry.
I haven't heard what they're doing with their tax rate, so they may also be raising their rate, but I didn't hear that.
For some reason, I had stuck in
No,
my head.
But I think their assessment went up by about
Okay.
11%.
Political suicide rate.
Considerably different.
Yeah,
Do you suppose that you say it's the same as previous years? How about,
Format is the same.
you know, how about somewhere in here, the previous rate was whatever that mill rate was, so that if you say it's the same as the previous year, okay, that's fine and dandy, but what was it the previous year?
Yeah.
It might help, I don't know.
I can do that. I mean, if you look across at 21, 22, 22, 23, 23, 24, you can see it stays at 0.46, 0.28.
I do.
But just plain state, it's not a bad idea for people that aren't
Yeah.
great at following charts and lines. So no, and again, that's assuming that that's the decision that you folks might make here in a few minutes. So for purposes of just coming up with something to put in front of you, I kept the rate the same, right?
So, excuse me, Carol.
Yes.
I want to clarify. You're talking about putting in the preliminary assessment figures on this.
Well, whatever, you're going to come up,
I don't think so.
no,
Nancy.
when you're looking at page 25, okay?
Mhm.
I paid my taxes last year. Do I remember what the percentage was that I paid? What the rate was? What the rate was? Do I remember that? No. And do lots of people remember that? Or will they read at the bottom those figures and realize what they're looking at?
So I think
That's all,
Carol's
I'm just
just,
saying.
I think
make it
Carol's just
clear.
suggesting we'd say Village of Chester, we take out draft 23, 24 rates. And then the next line could be, there's been no change in the rate for village residents since 2012 or 2016 or whenever
They'll
last
see
time.
the
it happened.
village figure because of the
Okay.
assessment.
Yeah.
And think that we put it up.
That's right. But just for people that aren't
Okay.
most comfortable reading a chart, just puts a few words there to say the rate didn't change, if the rate doesn't change.
And we
I can
don't
easily
know
do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
That's a good suggestion. I'm just so used to charts and numbers and figures. You get in these jobs and you think, well, everybody can read a chart, but you're right, it's not.
I personally prefer this chart. It's easier for me to follow than page 26.
I like 25.
Me too. I don't understand 26, frankly. I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at on 26, that's all.
Then we'll go with 25 because it's the same info, just presented differently.
It
Super-
probably is, but it's
super easy.
only large numbers on 26. and no breakdown. It's only big numbers on 26, right?
All right.
Anyway, I mean,
We're a big organization.
yeah, no, there's nothing small on this one. So huge.
Okay. 27, page 27 is the start of the village package. So this year, for the first time, we've broken out 2 packages. So we have a package for the village rate and a package for the fire department. We've always had a separate tracking, separate categories for the fire department, but this year we put in revenue for the fire department on their own, so they could see that. And we put in the village stuff, so it's a little more clear that they're related, but there's 2 separate packages here, right? And you will see on the revenue by source that for the village, the second line down on page 27, village area fire rate, that we do bring in 355,000. In the past, we would have shown how much money we can bring in from the municipality as well. Our anticipation is that in 23-24, the municipality's money won't come to us. It'll go either straight to the committee or into the joint account. So that's why it's not reflected in the budget this year. Same amount of money, it's just a different flow as to where the money might go and how that gets approved. So the revenues there are the same revenues that you saw a month ago. How much we bring in from a tax rate, if the tax rate doesn't change, using the new assessment numbers. How much comes in from a fire rate using the new assessment numbers. Rental income for the ambulance building, EMC building. Rental income from the Eastlink Tower that's in the fire hall parking lot. An estimate of the HST offset grant. So that's a grant from the province based on how much HST we pay. And an estimate of how much money we might get from the federal summer hiring program to help us pay for lifeguards. Those last 2 are purely estimates because we won't know until we get approved. Make sense on the revenue side? Okay, on the expense side, following the meeting that we had last month, then you'll see in the page 31 notes, I've noted everywhere where there's a few places where it might have got adjusted by $100 or $200 that I didn't make a note, but anywhere where we made a significant adjustment, I put it in here. So property tax exemptions. So 21, 22, we had about $2,000 in property tax exemptions approved for low income people. We don't have the number yet for 22, 23. It comes when we get the final year-end sign off and balances all of the numbers. So we don't know, even though in 22, 23, you significantly increased those cutoff numbers. You'll recall you went from 23,000 and being the top of the scale to 40,000 being the top of the scale. You don't know how much that's going to cost you yet. But I put in for 23, 24 that it could be as much as $5,000. That is purely an estimate. Yeah, it's speculative. It could be 2,000 again. Maybe nobody else picked it up and applied. It could be more than 5,000. I think 5,000 is probably a reasonably safe bet, but we don't have any data to base that on. So again, to the letter of concern that you had that you do something for low income people, last year you did significantly increase those cutoff levels and you haven't seen the impact of that yet, but that was specifically to try and address people with income challenges in the village.
Why don't we have any number under nonprofit tax exemption?
Because we haven't decided yet.
Okay,
Right.
that's last year, not next year.
Sorry, in 22, 23,
It's-
I don't know what, so
There's no.
it wasn't budgeted. It wasn't budgeted in 22, 23.
Okay.
So in
There was no nonprofit.
Well, there
tax.
was just the flower. The garden club
Garden
was
club.
budgeted in 22, 23. None of it, you'll see even under property tax exemptions, the one above where it's $2,000.
Yeah.
On the far left, you'll note there's no 4-digit number there. So this isn't a criticism of anybody, it's just a different way of doing it. In the past, the municipality takes those grants off the top before they send us the final reconciliation check. So they just never got reflected in the budget. It was like, oh, we never got that money, so it never went into the budget.
Okay.
So what I proposed is you would show it as though it had come in and then show it as an expense.
Okay.
So that you could actually see for yourselves what's the impact of what we did.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, it'll just not come in and it'll look like not only will it look like, you won't know whether or not you had a significant impact on people.
Yeah.
So both of those numbers in the past have just been taken off the top before you got your budget, and this time we added them in so that you could clearly see them. The nonprofit tax exemption, that is the NGO one that in 22, you approved the Garden Club, which was the standing one, and OHC. And then you had a request from the Arts Center, which you paused pending the rewrite of that policy, which has not yet happened. And at the time, you had said, maybe we shouldn't just do open-ended 100% of anybody who applies or 50% of anybody who applies, but maybe we should designate an amount, no more than X dollars to be distributed amongst all of the people that apply.
Yeah.
Again, I arbitrarily picked the number of 3,000 because I thought we should put some number in there. I'm not trying to tie you to 3,000, but you haven't had the discussion about the grant policy, about the exemption policy yet. And I thought it was reasonable to put a number in there. You've got enough flexibility in the budget if you wanted to make it 2,000, if you wanted to make it 5,000. The discussion we had the last time, my sense was you were thinking like, we're not going to give away $10,000 for nonprofit exemptions. I might have been wrong on that, but that was my sense. So again, that number 4 item is fairly arbitrary on my part. That makes sense?
I'm gonna ask a stupid question. And maybe I won't ask a stupid question.
There are no stupid
Good plan,
questions.
Nancy.
Yes, yes. I was gonna say it doesn't really matter what figure is there, because it's something that we will be deciding. This isn't set in stone.
That is not set in stone.
Nothing is ever set in stone. Even if you approve the budget, you can have a motion in the middle of the year and change it.
Correct.
But at least it reflects the fact that we're putting something aside
Correct.
for it.
It's a plan.
Yeah,
It's a plan.
we're not just ignoring it.
Yeah.
If you didn't put anything in there and targeted that money into some other of these allotments,
You could put it in later.
you could put it in later, but then you'd have to cut something back. This way, you've at least got a notional amount in there. So if you say, you know what, we're not going to do 3,000, we're going to do 1,000, you'll have $2,000 to put into celebrations or somewhere else. If you put 0 there and decide, well, we're going to do 3,000, then you have to go take $3,000 away from somebody in order to put a number in.
Got it.
That's the only reason why I did it that way. So I'll just run down kind of the bullets in the far right. Bullet 5, new lease, new office rate, $18,000. Bullet 6, we talked about last month, the office cleaning in the past had for some reason been fully paid by the fire department, and it's now split evenly between the two. Employee wages, number 7. This number reflects the salary increases that you approved at the special meeting where you talked about staff, and it reflects Heather's numbers coming in. So $75,000 is as close an estimate as we can make based on what we know right now of what wages will look like for the year. Medical insurance, I think last month was $5,000 and we bumped it up to $6,000 just because there's I think there's 1 or 2 more people eligible now than had been eligible last year just because of the commissioners and Heather coming in, those kind of things, young people. All you young people taking over the world. Employee benefits, last month was 0. The last draft was 0. This reflects your agreement that you would provide a pension benefit for your treasurer. So that's half of the amount because it doesn't kick in until after the first 6 months. So that's half of the amount of the annual amount. Number 10, IT support, that's an extra 1,000, and that reflects the NJSB discussion that we just had. Insurance is up. I put them all. The insurance is up by about 10%. They went up 23 or 24% last year. And the sense was that probably wasn't the last jump. So they all got, you'll see 11 shows up in a bunch of different places.
Yes.
That's not because I numbered it wrong. It's because all of the insurances are bullet 11. They went up by 10%.
Took me a while to figure that out. but I
Yeah.
did.
Office equipment programs just reflects a little bit of an increase because the cost of Office 365 licenses and that kind of stuff continue to go up. Maintenance and operations, we talked about last month, that the amount didn't go up, we just combined repairs and maintenance together. Insurance bumped up a little bit, lifeguard wages bumped up or went back to normal on the speculation that we're gonna actually be able to find lifeguards this year, which is wonderful news.
Jeff, the Lido repairs is now, that has no entry because it's the moved up one, right?
Correct.
Will that disappear next year? Will
I
that-
think yes.
That will go away completely?
That's
No,
right.
I mean, that entry.
That
no
entry will
longer
just
exist.
disappear. That's right. It won't show in the budget.
The lifeguard wages, I see no change from 2022, 23. But we are expecting a full complement, which we didn't have in 22, 23.
Correct. But in 22, 23, if you look under third quarter, that's actually the final, because we don't have any lifeguards in the fourth quarter.
That's correct,
So we budgeted 21,000, we only spent 15.
but not having a full complement.
Correct. So if we go back to a full complement, we should go back to the full budget amount.
And are we not raising the lifeguard wages?
We haven't proposed to raise the lifeguard wages this
I
year.
thought,
And,
Crossing guards, I think.
and last year, no, sorry, in that discussion we had the other day, we didn't talk about raising lifeguards.
okay,
And we're hoping to get a higher grant than we got last year. Last year, we only had one lifeguard approved because we only had one we could find that was eligible.
mhm.
Previous years, you've always had two approved, which reduces your wage costs. If we could find two lifeguards, and I think we're gonna be able to find, you're gonna be able to find two lifeguards.
And that includes CPP and EI.
Yes.
Yeah, that's shown somewhere.
The CPP EI stuff where it's shown in a separate line.
Oh, above.
Under
54,
administration.
47 and 54, 48.
Lead of stuff I thought was done
sorry.
separately.
I think the leader stuff shows up under wages. Pretty sure.
So you included everything under wage.
I think so.
Under Lido pool wages.
I think the Lido pool wages, I think, Nancy, I would have to double check, includes CPP and EI contributions.
Okay.
But if it doesn't, we put CPP and EI contributions up just a little bit up above. So if they were up there before, they'll be up there again, and we bump those categories up a little bit. So either way, there's enough money there to pay for it. But I couldn't find out for you.
I have to say 5447 and 5448 under administration. I like to see those entries.
Broken out, you mean? Oh, you mean, yeah.
I like to see,
Sorry, I don't understand.
Yes, we're glad
That
that
you're-
they're there.
yeah. I'm happy to see them.
Mm.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant you wanted me to go get the list and show you that you paid this much for me. I was like,
Yeah,
thank you. That's lovely.
yeah, it is nice.
What is supervisor security?
That's Ray Sweet, security guards overnight at the pool.
Yeah.
Page 29, still in general government. So no change from last month when you looked at flower basket wreaths and celebrations. So those amounts stayed the same. You had a conversation about we should be doing something specific to attract tourists under an economic development plan of some sort. You didn't clarify or specify what that might be, but we should do something, was my sense of the conversation. So I notionally put a bit of money there. Now, that is very notional based on that one conversation.
Thank you, Jeff. Are we having any more in-depth discussion on the amounts that are here?
It is your meeting.
All right, I would
So
like
you
the
say-
commission to consider celebrations. Normally, we have done fireworks or collaborated with the Heritage Society
It's Canada Day,
for Canada Day fireworks.
and it costs
There is a-
$500.
That's, it costs 12,000. Or thereabouts.
But you contributed generally 5,000 a year towards fireworks.
Okay.
There are a number of people who are opposed
There will,
to fireworks,
Be careful.
and What?
She's gotta be careful. If you're talking about giving money to the Heritage Society, she's already declared a conflict
Well-
of interest. I'm not telling you to stop, but just,
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you that there are no plans to do fireworks this year.
Well, I'm going to ask the commission if they want to do fireworks, but let me start again to say there are a number of people who are opposed to fireworks because of the effect on wildlife, et cetera, et cetera. I think Canada Day should be celebrated. I know that the Heritage Society has the Canada Day picnic at the train station. The yacht club has their sail past. There are other things available, like light sticks or necklaces that you break open and they glow in the dark. I would like the commission's decision on whether we proceed with fireworks regardless and spend $5,000 for a 5-second show. Because there isn't any such thing as silent fireworks. I asked that question, just like there isn't any such thing as silent music. Or do you want to investigate other celebratory options?
If I suggest that we commit to a Canada Day celebration of some sort or another that we investigate, that could or could not include fireworks. That we leave our options open until we've investigated.
Okay.
And I speak.
Certainly.
I can tell you that the last time we had fireworks, it cost us $12,000. And that's, in our opinion, too much money and too much noise because we bore the backlash because it was under the Canada Day celebration.
Well, since we collaborate with the Heritage Society on the fireworks.
Or the yacht club.
Or the yacht club. I don't know, I feel like if it's an environmental or noise concern and so on, I think that people certainly have the right to be concerned about that. I think we just need to commit ourselves to doing something appropriate for Canada Day, and if
Well-
fireworks are off the table, they're off the table.
This is March. If we're going to decide on something, we have to order it. We can't order it on June 30th.
Okay.
or
Pretty out of
July 1st.
favor right now.
Sorry?
Fireworks are pretty out of favor.
Yes.
So I'm not, it's a lot of money, that's
Yeah, it
$1,000
is.
is a lot of
Yeah,
money.
for about 5 or 15 minutes of
Mhm.
loud noises.
Well, then I guess,
People don't look at fireworks. People our age remember such things, but younger people, I don't think are wedded to the idea.
I'm not wedded to the idea.
Well, neither am I really. It's enjoyable, but after the first 20 or so years, it becomes a little pat and
Songs
blasé, you
take
know.
off
And I think there's valid, for one thing, that $12,000 that you mentioned. Did that include the insurance and the firemen that had to put them out? And those expenses weren't even included. And I guess they're cheaper now than they ever were before. To get a decent show nowadays, I think you probably have to spend about 50 grand to get a really good show, from my understanding. And I tend to agree that they're not quite the favored thing. Oh, the kids love them because they can run around with glow sticks and talk to their friends. But
We can go for glow sticks.
it's not really work, yeah, but they have to be in addition to something that's happening to draw the crowd there.
Well,
the question would be, with the glow sticks, do we give them to the people who are attending at the train station? Or do we give them to the people who are attending at the yacht club?
Is there any reason we can't do both?
But do those things run into the evening? Or are they daytime events?
The Canada Day one here in the village runs from 4 until 8.
So it's not even gonna be dark yet, yeah.
I mean,
But the Sailcast at the yacht club is obviously after dark. So we can stand on the street corners by the parade and hand out these glow sticks.
We don't think we need.
Only
to
a
make
value to the
specific
kids, I
decisions
think,
now.
because-
It looks like though we've got a consensus, no fireworks.
I'm thinking,
So we move
I guess
on
I'll
from
throw
there.
my hat into
Yeah.
that ring as well. I like them personally, but I'm not wedded to them in any real way. It's a thing from the past. is what
All right,
think.
I will get a costing on glow sticks. They're not a big deal. They're
Is there
only about
anything
this
else
big.
that we can do as a commission? I mean, in collaboration with what everybody else is doing, the Heritage Society, Yacht Club, whoever.
Do we have to decide that tonight?
No.
Come over.
I
But
don't
think
know.
about it.
We're not doing fireworks, but there's
I
some
guess-
hurry now.
Do we
Just
need a
keep the money
motion
in
to
the
no
budget, though.
fireworks or do we just minute it and carry on?
sorry, can
Do
you-
we need a motion that there will be no fireworks?
No,
Or
I
do
don't
we just minute and carry on?
Carry on.
Okay,
But again, Heather, when she gets here, may have a better sense than I do. I would say one of the things is you don't really advertise that you have a fund available for celebrations.
Mhm.
And I don't know what you had in mind for this economic development piece, but if you're particularly interested and we'd like to do something around Canada Day, there's no reason you couldn't run a little campaign that says, we have money available for celebrations and we'd love to partner with somebody on a Canada Day event. Please send us your ideas and we've set aside 3,000 of the 9,500. Or you could just go out and buy glow sticks yourselves and hand them out in the street car. I don't have a strong opinion, but somebody with some marketing sense may have I guess the
Yeah,
other thing
context or something.
that's unclear to me might be whether or not there's any community groups or the commission that are interested in doing anything around the coronation of the king. So I know you've done things in the past around Queen's Jubilee and some of those kinds of things, but whether or not there's any interest from some group in the village around doing anything or not, I don't know the answer. So I just say that there's a number of places where celebratory events could happen in 23, 24. And you
We've
might
got
want to
the
do a
money
little
there, so-
promotion of, hey, we've got some money and we'd like to find a part. Last year you didn't spend all your money. Last year you gave $5,000 to Heritage Society, $500 to the Yacht Club for a band, and the rest of it went unspent.
Mhm.
And you didn't advertise it and nobody applied for it.
Yeah.
So. Okay,
So tourism attraction projects. Carol and I will be listening to the webinar, Community Stories, tomorrow at 3:00. I sent you guys the link to register for it if you're interested, or we can report back. I don't know what the charges are.
There are no charges. If you don't watch it, or even if we do watch it, we'll get a recording of it anyway.
okay. I know Heather tried to sign up and couldn't get
Oh,
registered, so I wondered if it was full.
Well, it may be, I don't know, but it's online. It's called On the Spot.
mhm.
And they do all sorts of things that
Would be useful.
Yeah, we'd love to get a report from you guys. I would certainly try to sign on, but I'm slammed this week.
Well, it's tomorrow afternoon at 3. But basically, they will do a walking tour, they'll do a driving tour, they'll put it on a phone, they'll put it on wherever you want it. You can have your own app, you can go on your website.
But that does cost money when you move into that.
When you're working with them, it costs money.
Mhm.
But that's
But
only-
the advantage that we have here is if you wanted to do something like then and now, we have lots of pictures.
Mhm.
I mean, we have the pictures of that then and now done throughout the municipality for that matter, but in particular in town and village. And I mean, my other thought was that perhaps sometimes they're telling us that people like to walk and look, then perhaps it's a time
Bit of
to.
a brochure with a walking.
It
tour.
could be, it could be the walking tour on your phone that would take you around. The other option, and I kind of like the idea of coming up with unusual facts, if you will, about the houses they're looking at, rather than the thing that says they were built in 1815.
But the sailors who are buried outside the fence line at St.
Yeah.
Stephen's
Yeah,
Church.
exactly. Or the teaser cross that's in St. Stephen's, or the ghost that walks at, what do they call it, White,
Sierra.
yes.
The
No,
House that
it's not
somebody cut his
Sierra,
wife's
it's the
head
one,
off or something.
Nick Narsansky and.
Oh,
the
White
chick
Cottage,
redid White
yeah.
Cottage. I don't know, there's all sorts, I mean, across the street, you've got the one that had the,
I just remind you, so I think that's all good stuff. I would just remind you that that's a private company trying to sell you something, so
beware.
no, just we have to
No.
follow some procurement rules, so don't make a commitment at the end of the call that we're gonna contract you for $10,000.
Thank you very much.
Just a reminder.
But,
No, they.
I don't think that was your intent, but I just remind you that.
but I'm sure that anything company that we eventually had a contract with to do this type of thing, we would need Wi-Fi in the village to allow
If you wanted to do like a,
Oh,
your app on your phone.
to have, to walk around looking at their phone, following and listening to the program. So there's a merchants meeting tomorrow.
I thought that was today.
No,
Tomorrow morning here at 9.
it's here. So I don't know whether 10,000 is enough,
You know, either, but it's a start.
but certainly we have to work with MOBC's economic development, tourism people in order to get what we need in the village and find out what the cost is gonna be and how much we are going to contribute towards that cost.
Well, we certainly should sit down with staff for sure,
Yeah.
but maybe Heather could do that.
All right, I've said my piece. Thank you very much
Delightful.
for now.
How many people don't have data on their
I don't have data.
Yeah, but you have a cell phone.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering, why do we need Wi-Fi?
Yeah,
if
that's
We've got
what I'm
cell
thinking.
phones.
If the kind of people who are gonna be taking these tours probably do have data.
But
I
how
think-
many people come from the States and don't buy Canadian
Roaming?
data packages?
Well, I don't know, it just seems odd, but I guess there are people who don't have
Well,
data.
But if you're going, you would usually, like when I went to Dominican, that was the first thing I did was get some coverage so that,
You
wouldn't
buy
be-
that.
Most
it-
people who
yeah.
travel
so my
get-
kids
get
could call me if
coverage.
something
Yeah,
happened.
But I think the question, do you need more exploring on what that would involve and what you
Yeah.
need and what would that look like? Maybe you'll hear something tomorrow. On your
Maybe.
call, might be useful.
Might be able to download it or something. too.
Well, if you
Yeah.
can get a copy of it after you're
Well,
done. then we
normally
can
they
all
do.
look at it, you know,
Normally
yeah.
they do
I mean,
along with the other
You
webinars that I
can
watch.
just download it onto your phone and then it's like a
It's like a-
recording, you know?
Well, it's
So
an
you don't
app.
need
We're on your
Wi-Fi.
computer. Oh, it's an app, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So they won't give you an MP3 of it or anything like that. You have to
No,
have the app.
no, you don't.
Yeah.
They'll download it as an MP4.
Whatever, that's a
Clear-
movie, basically,
Yeah.
yeah.
We need to talk to people who know what they're talking about, which is not us.
Right. Okay,
Someone
Jeff,
like
sorry.
Heather, coming
sorry
from the
for
town of Lunenburg where
interrupting.
they had a Wi-Fi project in their downtown, might
Oh,
have some
Yes.
info
We
for
got
you.
Miss Heather to discuss
Yeah,
that.
Putting everything on Heather.
Plus, she's a comm specialist, so we might as well take advantage of it.
Okay, I don't see any
Moving on.
thumbs up there though when I say I'm putting
Yeah.
everything.
Give her a thumb up.
Over
I
on
think-
the
I
Heather.
think she's got more-
Yep, there it is.
Good girl.
Okay, under operations, I think everything here is the same as it was last month. I might have put, I did put waste removal 5224 up by 1,000 because we're already almost at 4,000 that it was last month. And I remind you, that's the garbage box at the bar hall. The dumpster at the
Yeah,
bar hall.
the one thing every time I see the same number, and we're all aware that we're sitting in an inflationary situation that's anywhere between 7% and 15%. And I'm just wondering, are we allowing for inflation when we've got the same number?
In some cases we are. So we wrote to Compost Collections, for example, and got a quote,
Okay,
and they held the number that they had last time,
okay, great.
the 23,000.
I should have known that you got.
Maxine, are they not charging a fuel surcharge?
And it means power in the next 2 years is going up 14%.
On compost, they do, but
Can
I
we
don't
go
think
back
they're
to
doing
flower
that.
baskets, please?
Not for this
So
year.
where you like?
Well, I mean, this year we know we've paid for it. But I mean, in another year, would that change if we decided we wanted to do, if the commission decided that they wanted to do something else? Because I'm not gonna be here.
For sure. Flower basket.
At some point, but it's not, I don't think we need to discuss.
But yes, if you said you wanted to do half as many flower baskets and put up banners or cast iron
So,
decorations or whatever that
Yeah.
number would change. For sure.
yeah,
But
I
yes,
mean,
next year you're already locked in at 75.
Yeah.
I'd say you're locked in.
Pretty well,
but
yeah.
Obviously, that's,
They're already ordered.
they're ordered.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay, put them out and water them. Gyplot, nothing changed. Street light, sorry, protection, repair and maintenance. I put 5,000 in there from the 1,000 in recognition that you've got 3 streetlights to repair on Water Street. And we pushed the crossing guard wages up to reflect the wage discussion that you had
Minimum wage.
last month, with minimum wage going up, and you wanted to keep pace. Page 30, under, this is EHS, so you'll see the numbers reflected in there. And again, remember your revenue is 20,000 a year and your expenditure is 10, so you know, if you run a little high on some of those costs, I did bump up insurance like I did all the other insurance. But if you did happen to run a little high on any of those, you've got lots and lots of room under EHS to bump up without overrunning what you get for return. Reserves, EHS reserves, so there you see the difference of $11,000 goes in after expenses from the reserves and emergency services. If you jump down to Lido, I am suggesting bullet 21 that you add $30,000 to the Lido reserve, which would push you up. You're currently at just over 120,000 in the Lido reserve. That would push you up to 150,000, which would position you really well should that grant get approved from CCH to provide matching funds.
Right.
We freshened up the estimate from the company that gave us the estimate in 2021, and you haven't done any repairs since 2021, any repairs to the concrete work since 2021. In 2021, the estimate was 200. Sorry, the estimate was 260,000, and when they refreshed it, it was 350,000. So,
Sorry, would you repeat those two numbers, please?
sorry, I'm guesstimating. I have no look on my desk, but the
Never mind.
2021 number was $260,000. It
Okay.
seems to me.
So
and we-
almost 100,000
Yeah, and
more.
we asked them what would it cost to freshen that up, give us a number for 2023, and he came back with $347,000,
And
almost
that's the
350.
balance of the wall.
That's the balance of the wall, the inside wall repairs that need to be done, and any sealing around the floor. And that's without doing an inspection to see if it's gotten worse since 2021. So should you get 150,000 from CCH, which is not guaranteed, and you had 150,000 in your reserve, you would be short $40,000 or $50,000 based on the estimates we have now. You could go look for another partner. I had a very, very preliminary discussion with staff at MODC to say, could the village apply for a grant from MODC? And they said, well, yeah, I think technically you could apply, and for a cause like the Lido, there might be some interest, right? It's
They're using
obvious.
it in all of their advertising rather generously.
Yeah.
It's charging them.
Yeah. So should that get approved, I think you've got some room to go find some partners there. Might also get approved over multiple fiscal years. They might say, oh, you get the 150, but you have 2 fiscal years to do it in. Let us know what your split is. So again, that number is my suggestion. It's not a number that you guys asked me to put in there, but I'm saying might be reasonable to put 30,000 aside. So bullet 20, the yellow is if you did all those things that we talked about, bumped all those categories up, put 10,000 into economic development and 30,000 in the Lido, you would have $3,300 unspent at the end of the budget process. The fire department budget is exactly the same as it was last month when you looked at it. Fully expended based on revenue, all of the costs that you guys talked about with Cody when he was here last month.
So we would approve the general government budget and the fire department budget separately.
Yes, I think so.
And after we approve the fire department budget, we would send it to MODC saying
We've already sent it to MODC to say
pending their approval.
pending their approval. But saying here is the finalized budget from the fire department with an overview look from the fire committee, but not approval by the committee, but no objection from the committee.
Right.
I have not heard from MODC on their plan and when they would table it. I just assume they'll table it as part of their full budget presentation whenever they do that, which must be soon.
I thought it was last week.
Or maybe it was last week. Let's say.
What is the reserve for the emergency services for? That you pay to replace the building or?
Yeah,
something?
replace the building,
The
replace
roof
the
needs
roof.
repair, the shingles are deteriorating.
Okay, I just.
At
was
some point, you may
curious.
have to replace the garage door, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's just a general reserve, not a general reserve, but it's a specific reserve for that building.
Right.
Should you need to do any major repairs.
Good, so Jack,
So
is there a request for a decision on this?
I didn't do an official request for decision. I wasn't sure what the comfort of the committee is, but I would be prepared to recommend that you approve the budget for the village and the fire department as stable. But I'm also open to if you say, look, you put too much in Lido and not enough in economic development or something else.
I think it's a good plan. I mean, you're never tied to anything. You can always adjust it as reality hits. But I think it's a good basic plan.
But I can only recommend approval. I can't move approval.
But I can move approval of the
Thank
budget
you.
as presented.
So it becomes no longer a draft anymore. This is going to be. the budget.
And
Don't forget, a budget is just a piece of paper.
Well, I know about moving numbers around, as long as there's numbers somewhere to move. That's
That's
the
right.
problem. you know?
and as part of that, you're proposing to keep the tax rate for the village and the fire rate for the village, the same as
Same.
previous, the last double year.
I don't see any way we can go down.
The problem with altering the tax rate to lower it is that we have a list of capital expenditures that need to be provided for. The proposal, the concern for people on fixed income, we have provided generously for those who have for the households that have a very modest income. There are federal government subsidies available, provincial government tax rebate, property tax rebates are available.
And heating rebates.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Heating rebates.
Pardon?
Peaking,
Thank
yeah.
They increased it substantially.
Yeah, it's quite a-
Plus the fact that to lower the rate does not equally benefit all residents of the village. Those residents who have a high property assessment will benefit much more than those who have a modest property assessment. So while the sentiment is admirable, I agree that we should keep the rate as it is.
I think another point that we need to consider in keeping the rate flat is we're still in an inflationary situation. At the end of this budget, we have a balance of $3,500, which is not a great deal of money in a large operation like we're running.
Mhm.
And we need to be cognizant of the needs of the commission. And it's very fair that we're able to maintain, even in the face of inflation, that we can maintain our rates.
And yes, yeah.
And we can see that inflation just in that one estimate for the pool, is that from 21 to 23?
Yeah.
That is
Large, yeah.
large.
Yeah.
Insurance, garbage, everything is
Yeah.
really,
And
we're not done yet.
We don't know what costs are going to inflate on us over the next 12 months. And to maintain rates over many years is a very fair. It shows that we're in control of our budget.
Good. So we have a motion from Laura. Do we have a seconder?
To accept the budget as
Budget
written.
and keep the rate as it is.
Okay, I'll second it.
Thank you,
Somebody's
Randy.
gotta do it.
You'll guess, will you?
Yeah, well,
You have
I had
some
a couple of,
concerns?
not really, I'm still messed up over these transfers to reserves. I can't wrap my
You're
head
just
around
saving
it.
money.
Like the page 35, transfer to reserves, fire apparatus repayment.
You're putting it in the savings account,
Yeah, I
Oh,
guess,
I
but I
see.
thought we had that sucker paid off.
but
We
they
do,
might
but-
have
This
another
year.
one.
We, for the one we just bought,
But there's another one on the horizon.
So that 50,000 just comes out of the blue, doesn't it, that you wanna push into those
No.
reserves?
You're
The 50
constantly saving money in order to purchase something. in
Oh,
the
no,
future.
I understand the reason for reserves, but how it
50,000.
works.
The 50,000 is the final payment for the loan that we borrowed from the apparatus reserve to purchase the property.
Ah, okay, now I see.
And
I'm
it will be
thinking the truck's paid
retired.
for, I mean,
We
It
have
will
to
be,
pay for property
it will
too.
be, that obligation will be retired this next.
yeah, I don't tend to think of the property as the fire
And
department.
then we're gonna have to build the building.
but the 200,000
Yes. that one
apparatus
was-
reserve.
Yeah,
So you're getting your fire tax collected by the municipality and
Yeah.
given to you in a lump sum. And you're saying, we're gonna spend this much on operations, and we're gonna tuck $200,000 away for when we wanna buy an aerial platform. 3 years
So-
from now, 5 years from now.
we're
When
just
we have to-
carving.
When we have to replace the
Planning.
Yeah.
Well,
five
replace-
forty-one.
Right,
So we're carving out $200,000 from where to put it into reserves? Is
from
that-
your, from your revenue,
taxes.
from your revenue that came from taxes.
Okay,
It's just like your home budget. Here's your
Yeah.
pension, it's $665,000 a year. We're gonna take 200,000 of that and put it in our savings account because we know 3 years from now, we wanna replace our trailer. We're gonna put 200,000 in this year, 200,000 in
Yeah.
next year, 200,000, we're gonna do that intentionally. We're not just gonna wait till the end of the year and say,
Panic.
how much is left over, and we'll put whatever's left over.
but
We're
how can we afford to carve $200,000 out of our budget?
Well, that's
To
why
put
we're
in there.
saving.
You know,
But-
That's why
you're
we're
look-
saving the money.
But you're looking at the fire budget. So if you go back to page,
yeah, I am looking at the budget.
right, but if you go back to page 32, you'll see the revenue for the fire department.
No, that's 34. I'm sorry for. being
No,
so
no,
dumb.
that's why you wanna,
Just
that's
don't
why we want to have
understand.
these discussions. So there's 32. So separate from, so the fire department, the fire service has a budget of $737,000.
Which.
The village only.
Partially us and partially
Correct.
LDC, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So general government of the village, you only have $350,000, whatever that number was.
Whatever they give us, yeah.
Yeah, but at the fire department, they have 737. So they said, starting the year, we're gonna put $200,000 in our savings account. We're gonna spend the other 527,000 on
Okay.
operations.
I'll forget how this works next time.
No,
But
you
for
won't.
now,
No, you won't.
I'm just not familiar with
No, it's all
this
good.
type of thing in business. You rarely have any money left.
That's what I was gonna say.
reserves, you know, and so I'm just not familiar with.
All right,
doing
folks. We
Okay.
have a
this. Laura
mover
moved it. I
and a
think.
seconder.
Okay.
Discussion.
We were discussed out.
Yeah, so that
Alright.
we can go over the fire department.
It's
budget.
exactly-
It's the same as
It's
last.
exactly the same as last
Okay.
month. You asked all those questions to Cody and he said,
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
All right, let's, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Opposed?
thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
No, it's a
I was-
nice job, I just didn't get it.
No,
That's
great
me.
questions. I think it is your fiduciary responsibility to ask questions until you're comfortable that you understand the answers. But I felt really good about getting that done before Heather came and had to pick it up
Yeah,
partway through the budget approval process.
So.
Not that Heather isn't competent, but it's just, I picked it up partway through when
Dennis,
when the previous clerk left, and it's hard to, why did they put that number there, and why did this go up by 10, and that went up by 8, and- right? So always easier when you have somebody here
no,
who's,
well done, Jeff.
Big
Well,
thing.
overall, I think it was beautiful.
All right, folks, we're on page 47 now.
47 to 38.
38, we did not get the agreement from the municipality. And the only reason, just for clarity's sake, they called me yesterday, they had one signature left to get on the contract, and that person was out sick all last week. So it's not that it's a problem.
It's not a big deal.
No, it's just that the last person who had to sign it on their side wasn't it. 47 is the appointment of your new clerk treasurer. So you've signed the employment contract. This is just the officially appoint them to the role, and it gives you the background there of they're the one who holds the village seal. They're the ones that has to sign contracts. They're the ones that are appointed to record the decisions of the organization, and they're also the returning officer at the advance poll. So they need to be appointed to the position.
The motion is on page 48, if somebody would like to make that.
I move that effective March 13th, 2023, Heather McCollum is appointed as the clerk treasurer of the village of Chester with all of the associated duties and responsibilities as outlined in the Municipal Government Act, village policies and bylaws, and the job description of the position, and that on that same date, the appointment of Jeff Conrad as clerk treasurer is rescinded.
Thank you, Geraldine. Seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Randy. All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome, Heather.
Yes.
Welcome, Heather.
Oh, fireworks.
Jeff, I'm
Silent
sorry,
fire.
I don't know if this
They're
stays as a permanent record, but it's not a drafty. Well, it is somewhat drafty, a little open-ended, lots of holes in it.
Okay.
But I don't know if you even need to know that, if you save these for some reason.
We say that.
Okay.
Page 49.
49. Okay, you will note this one is called a briefing note, not a request for a decision. So, and the reason for that is there really isn't, as far as I can tell, a decision to be made by the commission. It's not something that's within your authority, other than, like the topic with Ms. Wenzel, you were asked to talk about it and have some conversation and see if there is some thought or suggestion, and I did put a couple of options in there, but I didn't make a recommendation because it's really not business of the village. So I think all of you know the background here. Nancy has graciously included some pictures that she received from citizens. Carol, I know you had some conversation with folks down in that area. If you look at the map on page 52, the one on the bottom is the clearest. You will see Granite Street runs between 102 and 105 and right down to the water. And that I spoke to TIR in Halifax, and that was confirmed. There is a right of way all the way down to the water. You will see that on page 53 and 54 that Jason Mills was given a permit to work in the right of way, including infilling up to 25 feet, which would be up to the center line of the right of way from the edge of the property at 105 across the center. And if you look at that picture on page 55, I clearly did not go down and measure anything, but just kind of looking at it by eye, you can see that the infill goes somewhat across the center of the existing road.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, where the rock wall is.
This is the infill on
Yeah.
the road. on the
Oh,
side.
I see.
I remember them issuing that permit, and it was a great kerfuffle about it.
He must be pretty sure of himself. He already has filings in for his ward there,
He's got a permit.
by the looks of it.
Oh, I don't know about the.
Yeah,
He must expect he's going to get permission because
So my sense was that there was when I spoke to the guy at TIR, I was talking to someone in Halifax, and the decision authority is actually here in the region. But he couldn't see anything on his system that said that a wharf had been approved. And again, it would depend on where the wharf is located as to whether or not they would need a permit from TIR. So if those 4 pilings are in fact
Onto
where
the
it's
right of way.
intended, it would look to me, again, just
On his
visually,
property.
like that is on down from his property and not straight down from the right of way. So that might not require a permit from TIR, but I understand it would require a permit from Department of Environment and probably the Department of Fisheries and Oceans federally.
You have to get the environment first and then
Right.
apply for the DFO.
And if
Okay.
the wharf was more to the left in that picture over to where you can see that kayak lane, then it would probably be within the right of way of the road, and he would also need a permit from TIR if that was the case. But I haven't talked to anyone. This is all based on things you've told me,
And you've all received the correspondence, such as it is. I do believe that the village commission should be writing the municipality and Public Works, TIR, whatever you want to call them, to reinforce our opinion that these road rights of, the extension of the right of way to the water stays in the public domain.
It's not only in the public domain. What bothers me about this is that they've given him permission to take up half the right of way.
Yes, basically. they have-
So if he's got half of the right of way and the person on the other side decides she wants half of the right of way, there is no right of way left.
Well, it was, I think, ill-considered of TIR.
I do too, so I think that we should be voicing at least more
Objection.
strongly an objection to that. Because if you stop and think about where these roads go in, so if you take half of the right of way, let's say we'll take the right of way coming down past your house, Laura. Okay, we're coming down, we go down past what used to be Dr. Swigger's. Now, there's no easy spot to get in and off there, but there is a right of way to that water.
Okay,
Okay, so you decide, or whoever's in that last house, those last 2 houses, decides that, oh, well, I'll take half of that right away. So what happens to the road?
Geraldine, sorry, Carol, would TIR not have wanted survey plans for both those properties abutting the right of way?
Oh, they had everything, but I vaguely recall it. I mean, it's a while ago now, but I think that there was some
Monkey
put
business?
in at the ministerial level.
Jiggery pokery.
I mean, it is not unusual, I'm sorry to say.
All right, Carol, what are you suggesting?
I think that,
We need to say, make sure there's no more encroachment on the public right away.
well, I think that, or no,
Anywhere with rocks or infill?
well, I don't see that TIR should be able to say, and I realize the roads belong to them. I don't argue that point. But I don't see that they should have the right to say, you can have half of this.
But there is some mention in the data we have about the possibility even of selling unused right of way to landowners who abut it, whatever.
Yeah.
There is a policy, if he
There
wanted to
is.
go through the thing, you could say, look, no one ever goes down there, and, you know, it's,
Well,
I
if you-
wanna buy it, and right.
If you read the permits, they gave them permission for landscape,
Hmm,
and they reserved the right to take that property
If they
back.
need
If they need
Yeah.
it.
yeah. There will always be a right of way, it says. it.
Yeah, But if it always is a right of way, who's gonna remember that?
once something's built on. it.
Once something is there,
They never gone to construct anything. I mean, it has no legal implication whatsoever But in terms of writing a well-written letter to TIR saying, don't bloody well give any more land away from that right away and put it on our website. That's the best we could do, because we don't have any legal.
Would you like to draft that?
Sure.
Great. That was easy.
Oh, I think I should also send it
I'll
to,
just ask Heather for help.
send it to the village.
To the.
Advisory
Got a thumbs up?
The Planning Advisory Committee for the village, definitely.
And you want that on file all over the place.
Yes.
Yeah, we should
That-
write
that
it
we
carefully
strongly
and
oppose
then-
any-
and then
any further.
distribute it.
And the other landowners on the street or whatever are also opposed,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, but it only affects the two at the end,
yeah, true enough. Well,
which would be,
But it doesn't.
No,
It-
because
it
that's a
affects
public right of
everybody.
way, that's whether or not people are allowed to go and put their boats in the water there, or take their kids to paddle. in their
well,
foot in the
I know
water,
exactly
you know.
what it is.
Yeah.
But it
But-
affects everybody.
But there are many of them within the village.
Mhm.
Not all of them are open, but they're there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I think it certainly doesn't hurt us to put our. 2 cents.
Okay.
be on record that it's not taken for this proposal.
Direction to Geraldine. Please draft a
Write a
letter.
letter.
Yeah, you know how to politically state it, in a political kind of way.
We don't
You
need
use the word
Yeah.
ensure.
Thank you very much, Geraldine.
Yeah, this was just.
And now we go,
The last item.
oh, pardon me, my backside is numb.
What? You should have a new chair.
I think.
Much more,
No,
much more comfortable one.
I'm not sure these are the ideal, but
Anyway.
my son has one of these. And I don't find that.
This item is completely neat. None of you have complained. None of you have suggested that we
I'm
do
complaining
this.
Well,
now.
that could
Right.
sort of fun.
So, I just put together a little thing, and in part because a number of us have been. So when, for example, we went to the villages meeting in Bottle Hill, I know that all three of us noticed, oh, wow, this is a really nice facility, and isn't that TV nice? And look at the way this other boardroom we were in was laid out, and the tables were movable, which meant you could use it for, one table at the front and all the tables down there if you were doing a training course. And then the last time we were at MODC with all of the commission members, people commented.
Like that out.
People commented on, oh, isn't it nice to have the TV up on the wall so that everybody can see who's online and who you're talking to? So
But
this,
the chairs up there were really nice for the counselors.
this kind of arose just from that general conversation, the equipment in this room, and then in addition, when you go and watch the videos online, the quality is not always what it might be. They're quite echoey. The
I've had
camera
a lot
isn't.
of comments on poor quality.
Yeah, the camera isn't always as clear. It doesn't pick the voices up from people in the audience or sitting further away. So it was an effort to get at some of that stuff. I am not tied to, you need to do this. It was just a suggestion of some things you might do. I broke it out in 3 broad categories. So the furniture that's in the room, I would look and say those chairs that you guys are sitting in are like sitting on a piece of plywood, in my opinion, and they were bought used 10 years ago or more. So they're well past their best before date and you've gotten your money's worth out of them. I threw in a picture of what you might buy and what you would typically see in a government type boardroom. And then I threw in a quote around some movable boardroom tables, which are a little more expensive than what I expected them to be. They're quite expensive. And I checked with, for example, OHC just bought a number of them and that's roughly what they paid. They paid almost $500 a piece.
They seem a little flimsy for
You do, don't you?
our type of, I mean, I have a thing like that for camping,
Yeah.
like-
Yeah, I mean, picture might look that way, but they're
Yeah.
pretty good tables,
Yeah.
right? They'd be pretty, again, you may look at that and think, wow, that's a lot of money to replace a boardroom table, and I would understand that. I looked at it in the area of technology, so the suggestion was you have a pretty good laptop. This is the first time we've put a television screen like this up in the room, just to give you a bit of a sense. People have always said, oh, it'd be nice to know who's online. This is an ancient old video cam monitor that's been in the office for years and years and years. We can barely connect it to anything, but we did manage to get it hooked to the laptop.
Definitely should upgrade our technology.
Yeah, but my suggestion would be maybe up there where that picture is, you would put a bigger monitor with a higher quality camera that would work from up there and would have some zoom capability. And then in the center of the table, you would put a nice speaker that has a speaker phone built right into it, right? That could be somewhere in the center, and then you could hear people from all over the room. And again,
You're suggesting this goes on the wall somewhere?
that would be my
Something?
suggestion.
Yeah.
Design, put it up on the wall up there, and then people
On
in
the
the,
bracket.
With a visa mount or whatever.
yeah, some kind of an amount. And then I put sound deadening. So I didn't suggest anything specific here, in part because the idea is that you'll move out of this space when you build the new fire station theoretically. And you really want to put solid mounted custom sound deadening on the walls and on the ceiling if you're going to move out in 3 years.
We could go to Frenchie's and buy sheets to hang on the walls.
We could, and I actually am an extremely good seamstress.
Yeah, I think there are some options.
I've got mortgages of furniture. There's a huge warehouse in Dartmouth that we're eligible to go to get stuff for free.
I think Jim mentions the government surplus, is that what it is?
If they have any.
Yeah.
I've checked a couple times and they haven't had anything
It's
recently,
like going to Frenchie's.
Yeah.
You have to keep going back.
but year end's not a bad time to go check because other people are upgrading.
Okay.
And in sound editing, I mean, you've talked about for around the village, like getting local artists to make your banners, or you could get rug hookings, you could get quilts, you could get antique quilts from some heritage place, you could do any number of things that would help with the sound quality in there. They might not totally fix it, but they would help.
I sent you an email this afternoon.
Those don't look any more comfortable than what we're sitting in.
They are comfortable. And they're stackable. And they're $131 from Uline. And they have arms and no arms. And there they are.
They come flat pack?
Yeah. Food for thought.
What are the seats made of?
They're vinyl.
So you mean they're covered with a stretchy vinyl type of?
They're covered
material?
with vinyl, yeah.
And padding? So
Sorry?
we've got these stackable ones at the church that are torture racks.
Yeah.
And everyone's gonna have a different feel of
Yeah.
what they're gonna like for this.
Yeah.
For sure.
I prefer puffy chairs myself,
These
you
are pretty
know,
hard.
and so the one that Jeff showed us, and perhaps the one that we just saw, is, I find those chairs hard on my butt, quite frankly. I like a little padding on my one at home
Eat
is a
more.
servant, you know. Yeah, no, it's just that I think some of the things we've looked at already would be no better than what we're sitting on now.
Is buy cushions for these.
We what?
You could buy cushions. for these.
Well, I mean, I understand
And my feet would
modernize
touch.
it, or if we could get something decent secondhand or whatever.
That's
Well,
what seats
I
were.
I think it would be worthwhile to survey the warehouse.
Oh, certainly, you know, we got some.
The best time to go is after a cabinet minister gets fired.
That'll only get us one or two chairs.
Oh, no, you'd be surprised what they have
Yeah.
in their offices.
yeah.
So Jeff has a potential motion here that the village approve the clerk treasurer to purchase equipment to upgrade the boardroom in the areas of technology and furniture to a maximum expenditure of $7,500 plus HST.
Should be pre-approved though.
Would somebody like to make that motion and second it so we can discuss it?
Or some other amount.
Or we can
Why don't we
continue
just
to
put the
discuss it
motion on the
anyway.
table so we can discuss it? I'll move it, somebody second it,
Thank
and
you.
I'll
Second
change it, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. All right, discussion.
All those in
Stop
favor?
rushing us.
Let's have a discussion, guys. We've got it moved and seconded.
I think if you're gonna buy a TV, you've spent more than you have of your money. Monitor, so you've got that, and you're gonna try to get the tables and the chairs and the speaker and the camera out of what's left.
I would suggest an amendment to the motion to say, approve the clerk treasurer explore the possibilities and try to keep it in the budget and present it back to the commission for approval.
Well, I don't think it's enough money to do what we're talking about.
Where is this money coming from?
Sir,
Where are
In the
we
budget.
getting the money?
Where is
if
it?
you do it before the end of March, you have it in the current budget.
Okay, current budget. Yeah, you said that, didn't you?
And yeah, you
Oh,
said
okay,
you had
so-
10 grand or something, so we could send.
I think, I would say in the next couple of days, I'll do
Yeah,
a up-to-date current summary, but I think you're gonna have,
Okay, so we need to spend that money before the end of the month.
just to be clear, you don't
yeah,
need.
you government guys, calm down.
Yeah, you don't need to spend the money, but it is not budgeted in next year's budget as a separate allotment. It was just, again, there's some things that have been on my mind, you could do them. Most of these things are things you could get locally and have them on site. So if you wanted to do it, or some part of it, again, I didn't necessarily think you were gonna want to spend $4,000 to replace the tables, this table with some movable tables. So I don't know, that may not even be on your minds, but I put it in there as an option because we had seen a number of places where people said, oh my gosh, this is really nice. You can change the configuration depending on the type of meeting you have. You could move things around.
And tomorrow you have like the merchants coming in, and I had thought about, we were looking for a meeting space for a group I'm in, and if we do set it up nice, and not even as a moneymaker, it's certainly a nice offering of the village, if you can offer this as a meeting, and we don't have to have
And if you-
20-year-old crummy
And you
chairs.
need Zoom capability too.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I would say that the monitor and the audio equipment
Is the most important.
is the most important.
Me too. I agree with
This
that.
speaker thing there, I think to me is more important.
And again, I didn't
Well,
go,
that's, we meant that,
You called
that
it-
whole thing
yeah,
together.
I didn't go
So-
get recommendations. I didn't go to Staples or Best Buy and say, what would you? I kind of did a quick online search and pulled some pictures and said, here are some things that seem to be saying online that they're appropriate,
This
right?
is USB by the looks of it, yeah.
The municipality has the owl that picks up everybody speaking. Their audio is not very good.
This looks like a typical office boardroom type of arrangement,
Okay.
Yeah.
like
It's just like,
corporate boardrooms would have this
Yeah.
kind.
that's right.
It's probably what we need.
We have one of
Oh, yeah,
those at
sure.
OHC and it works quite well.
Yeah, I would.
I don't know if
you
it's
wanna-
that exact model.
But you want to
it's very
look
similar
at
to
at
that.
least $300 or $400. It's worth the investment.
Mhm, mhm.
Something.
So what we're looking at then is a flexibility of arranging the room. So that makes the tables important.
Well, again, this is my,
No, but Laura also brought that up, because then we could maybe make a penny or two by renting the to other groups. If we had some more flexibility.
Nonprofit group or something,
Yeah.
yeah.
but to your point, you could say, let's regularly check in with surplus warehouse until we can get 6 or 8 movable tables at some point, rather than buy them, right? Like if you don't get that for 3 months or 6 months, probably not. I sound like I'm arguing against my own suggestion here, but I'm just saying, I think you have some options in terms of,
Are they things that you're gonna be able to use in the new department?
Definitely, they have to be used in the new
Building,
building.
yeah.
It would be nice to have all new furnishings in the new building. And there are certain things that we need now to improve the quality. We can tough it out on these chairs and use these tables.
We definitely need to improve the technology.
But it's definitely a group decision.
Are we not? Are we not more likely to have money to do this, or the will to do this now than when we're trying to equip a brand new building?
That's a good point, but the budget should have a budget for furnishings, fixtures, and whatever else the third thing is.
Well, it seems to me if we have the capability for the budget now in the current fiscal year, and we put priorities like the technology first, table
Yes.
configuration second, chairs third, and ask our new clerk treasurer to do a
Take
little
trips
bit
to
more in depth
Dartmouth.
instruction. Well,
I mean, I'm very comfortable with that. If you want to say, look, we'll approve if you can get the technology. In. I mean, most of this stuff, something with Best Buy or Staples or something,
Yeah,
just buy.
yeah.
Again, I didn't recommend a system like MODC has. You'd be into $15,000 to even just put in one monitor and
Isn't that good?
some of that kind of stuff, right? But as an interim measure, to spend a couple $1,000s on a really good speakerphone, a good size motor or monitor, something to hang it on the wall with, some cables, that kind of stuff. Like, I think that would be a good investment for the village. And then we can pursue, let's keep chasing surplus and use market and see what we can come up with.
The surplus, though, you're never gonna get, like, it's okay to have chairs that maybe aren't perfectly matched, but the tables, you need to have them matched so that you can move
Yeah.
them around. I'm not sure that I'm crazy about that, but I can't see the facility of it, that you can change it so you can have two long tables or make a U or move it around, or, you know, have a study room there and a study room there, so I could see the facility of this kind. And you'd never get that out of the warehouse, like 10 of them or 5 of them or
Yeah.
6 of
The
them.
last time I checked, about 3 months ago, they had 3
Yeah,
that were the same.
It's sort of
Is it-
wiggly.
but that's the
too.
kind of
Looks like
thing
a
where you
big
must
wiggle.
have them all the same in order for it to be a useful project.
Well, like I say, I have the Canadian Tire one for Canon, which is the same as that.
It's probably not as sturdy.
And
This
the
is a
problem is that
$500
it's the
one.
wiggling.
Well, that's what I said,
you
this is
know?
a $500.
And that's on wheels.
But I
If
think
you want
based,
it on wheels, so you
Well,
can move it around.
Those wheel locks are not specifically all that good on those types of.
But- I think I'm hearing though, some comfort around the technology.
Oh,
Yeah.
And
Sure.
then let's investigate if we can come up with some options cheaper on the
For the
furnishing
tables.
side. And you'll live with the shares that you have for the time being, unless we get an opportunity to get some at a
Sure.
free or super cheap deal.
Well, I would say to authorize Heather to see what she can find for us in the $7,500 budget, starting with the priority of the technology, moving to the tables, moving to the chairs, and then stopping at the $7,500.
Chairs will be a problem because what I find comfortable, you may not,
Yeah,
and you may not.
yeah, that's the thing, is
Mhm.
the chair thing is going to be, as Nancy said, the hardest thing, because we all have different thoughts on what's comfortable for us and what isn't, you know?
Well, MODC brought in a bunch of chairs when they were getting new ones. And you'll see that some counselors now have taken the visitor's chair at the head of the table and switched their big high back chair for the smaller one.
I like a high back, because at home, I'd be leaning back.
Oh, we can't them
Yeah,
falling
well, I
asleep
know,
though.
no, I know. This is what I'm saying. In this situation, perhaps a high back is not warranted, really. It's only when you want to lean back. and-
well, shall we give Heather some direction and a budget outline and,
Well, we have the motion before us. Do we
That's
not?
right.
Yeah,
Do you want to change that?
the only thing I want to say is put it in sequence of priority, the technology first, the table second, the chairs third.
And
okay.
I think there has to be a pre-authorization arrangement there. We don't want Heather
We are
running.
pre-authorizing it
No.
right now.
No, but if she decides on something, she should have to bring it to us and say, this is what I think. This is what
So,
it's like.
we'll tell her to send us an email, shall we?
Well, whatever, it just seems like otherwise Heather could go to Staples and blow the wad without. No, not that she would, I don't expect.
Forget she's there.
But if we don't specify the fact that whatever plans are come up with have to be not authorized, but looked over by,
Approved.
approved by the
But it
commission.
doesn't need to be a meeting.
Oh, no, no, but as long as we get to say, oh, I don't know. I think it's expensive.
And can it be a majority decision, or do you get veto?
Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah.
You fall into those so easily,
Yeah, I
Randy.
know, I know.
So what's the motion now?
Yeah, do we have
So the
motion
motion
yet?
is that the village approve the clerk treasurer to purchase equipment to upgrade the boardroom in the areas of technology
Primarily,
and furniture
second.
to a maximum expenditure of $7,500 plus HST.
Keeping in mind that the priority
It's
is. in one
listed.
sentence there.
It's listed in
No,
the
it
areas
says
of,
furniture, I want tables to go before chairs.
all right, in the areas of technology and tables to a maximum expenditure. So do you
It
want
can
to,
include chairs as long as it's within it.
do
but I
you
just
wish
wanna
to
be able
amend that
see-
motion that you made? To say that?
Yes, I want to
Well,
say.
that's
it.
Said
Carol,
rewrite
do
it
you
6
agree with
times.
that amendment?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried unanimously. Unless you want Jeff on on his off time to do this sourcing.
Well, he can do
I'll
that,
do some of it.
sure.
I'll help that.
All right, it is,
I,
Is Heather still with us?
I think.
Yeah, there's still there.
Yeah.
I have one last item that I should have put
Oh,
on the
no.
agenda, and it's a short one. Speaking for you, clerk treasurer, in the past, you have not provided a cell phone to the clerk
Right.
treasurer. We talked about this before. They've always had their own. Heather didn't have her own cell phone. It was provided by the town of Lunenburg. She has a cell phone that she can get a contract on. And my suggestion was, rather than buying her a new cell phone and paying for the contract on it, is that you could give her a monthly allowance towards her costs incurred in using a cell phone, because you're gonna want to be able to call her if
Absolutely.
something massive
Yeah,
happens.
it's on
Does she, did we not also discuss the laptop?
We have a laptop. Randy returned the one that he had
Okay,
because he wasn't using it, so we have a laptop for her. We have a second monitor that she asked for. It's on my desk now.
excellent.
So it's really just a cell phone. So
And then, do we have a suggestion on what's an appropriate amount to, for a stipend? Sorry, Nancy.
$100 a month.
She needs to add it for sure.
we also had a very brief discussion about the need for commissioners to have cell phones as counselors have cell phones
You
is it
mean
need-
supplied by the organization?
by the
Yeah.
I don't want to
organization.
carry a second
No,
phone,
me
I'd
neither.
rather just have a stipend to use
Okay,
my
fine.
own.
Thank you.
So who else, and what did the others think? That we should get an allowance of some sort? For cell phones? Is that what you?
So there must be a going rate for,
with
Well,
Heather, I had a few back and forth emails, so
Yeah.
specific to Heather. I had suggested maybe something like $50 a month might be reasonable. And then if she wants to have a private plan that's worth more than that, because she wants extra data or watch videos or whatever, she can do whatever she wants, and the commission would provide her a stipend. Again, just my suggestion of around
I
$50 a
think
month.
$50 is reasonable,
I'm paying 25 a month for mine, but I don't have.
You don't have.
but
to
you don't
it.
have very much, because
She'll have to
I've
have
got minimum and I pay 85, so,
You're being worked.
no, I'm not, I have a lot for what I consider to be my minimum.
well, considering she's gonna use this for both
Personal.
business and personal, I think $50 would be a reasonable stipend. Unless it goes-
Data runs like $100 a month, I think, on a decent phone, so yeah, that's.
And the other thing is,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
we're paying her a stipend for a little bit of torture, because we'll have her number, we'll be able to get to her, so.
Right.
we're
I've got your
compensating-
number.
We're compensating her for us torturing her as well.
No, it seems a reasonable expectation of an executive.
In
level
today's
position
day and
today.
age,
Yeah,
yes.
it does.
All
Okay,
right,
So,
so do you want a motion?
never hurts to have a
You
motion.
have to have a motion when you spend money.
All right. Who's
I
making-
would move that we provide the new clerk treasurer with $50 stipend a month for the use of a cell phone.
And a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Randy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded?
Should have said yours.
I thought you were gonna say contrary.
I think it was great the way you worded it. Perfect.
But Heather has her own phone or she's.
She has her own
she
phone.
brings
She's gonna look
her own-
after all
Enter
that.
the data.
You're just gonna give her a stipend. If she
Yeah,
has to
yeah,
replace the phone, whatever, that's on
It's
her.
up to her.
All right, let's call for adjournment, please.
I'll move that the meeting be adjourned.
Thank you very much. It
9:21.
is 9:19.
Ooh, that was a longie.
Yes. We covered a lot of wisdom.
I think chair should be the top of the list.